What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video I bring you news for the second banner, Mysterious Exploration Romancing Festival Apollo. We already have all the information about these characters and I'll be making a full preview as soon as we get to the Reddit on this post by Hands43. Thank you so much as always. And this banner brings Apollo as a very different type of damage dealer that is pretty amazing, to be honest. 132% intelligence. That's the highest one in the game right now. 105% will, a little bit low endurance with 78, and good agility with 101%. Then on the start of the fight, he gets this taunt that lasts for 5 turns with large effect, so he wants to be attacked. And then gets a damage block that lasts for 5 turns. He'll be blocking all damage to himself. The only way to do damage to him is to apply ailments or instant kill. And then he gets this hair magical power on the end of turn 5, that on turn 6 onwards he'll be buffing his own intelligence by 25%, getting a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 30%, lasts for that turn only, and also he will then double the effect of his passive number 2, and every time he attacks he gets 1 BP. Okay, that's a lot of things, but what he does with passive number 2? He always chases with Masamune Plus, that is a B power attack with Heat and Slash, and then he has a 50% chance to chase with Masamune Fury, that is a double S power attack with Slash and Heat, and then he also has a 50% chance to chase with Conflagration Plus, that is an AoE A power just Heat attack. So because of Conflagration you can see that he's more geared towards doing Heat damage than Slash. So when you start the fight, you already have this, and you are not taking damage. You are always chasing with Masamune Plus, sometimes chasing with Masamune Fury, sometimes chasing with Conflagration Plus. And then on turn 6 onwards, you have double chase guaranteed with the power, and then 50% chance to chase 4 different types of chases. 2 Masamune Fury and 2 Conflagrations. Each will have a different trigger. So, a lot of things, yes, but only 2 are guaranteed. Then he also gets this self-heat up for weak attacks. That means that it will only work if the enemy is weak to the elemental, in this case, Heat or Slash. And that triggers 4 times per battle for a total of 200% damage increase. Now, skill number 1 is a free E-power only attack with Slash and Heat that before attacking buffs intelligence by 25%, then attack. That's very nice. And then the second one has ATP cost, B power for AoE, and before attacking, if your intelligence is buffed, you then grant itself a morale up very large and an attack boost very large. The morale up increases damage by 40% and the attack boost by 30%, so 70% damage increase for 1 turn, and then attacks. But your intelligence is only buffed by turn 5 and beyond via passive, or if you use it skill 1 first. After attacking, it will then buff intelligence by 25%. So you can keep a perfect cycle because you are self-buffing. Unless, for example, a boss removes your buffs on start of turn. Then it's a problem for Apollo's cycle. But the good thing is that when you use this skill, you are also increasing the power of all chases via the attack boost, via the morale up, and via the intelligence buff. So plenty of ways to increase the damage of the chase attacks. And even better after turn 5, where you can double the effect of chases. He then has a 10 BP triple S single target attack with Slash and Heat. And it's just the same thing. You get the same 70% damage increase, and then you will also be buffing your intelligence. But in order to trigger all effects, your intelligence has to be buffed before you use the attack. So in normal cases, you start the fight and you use skill number 1 to buff intelligence if you don't have someone like Matriarch, because Matriarch has a fast skill that buffs SDR, intelligence, endurance, and will. She already triggers Apollo setup, so Apollo can already use skill number 3, for example. But sometimes he will not have enough VP. Remember that he gets 1 VP by attacking, so it's at least 5 VP per turn, up to 7 if you get double chases, and later you can get up to 10 you get all chases. That's unlikely to happen though. So even then, you cannot use skill number 3 all the time, unless you are using someone like Sheree, for example, to give extra BP. But Apollo is a very, very powerful damage dealer. Just has some restrictions, competes with slash damage dealers, but for hit, he's the best one. And I believe he deserves a 4.5 out of 5 as a damage dealer. This doesn't receive a 5 because it still takes time to build, and as competition does not help the party with anything else. Now we have Kandy that has 100% endurance and will, and then 120% agility and 103% STR. It's not a character made for damage, you should forget about that. It's a full support type. On start of fight, on turn begins, overdrive gauge. If not full, then we recover 1 BP and then grant self overdrive gauge fuel by 25 points in that turn for all allies. 25 points of overdrive gauge. It's nice, especially because Darius only gives 15. And then on turn begins, we'll always recover 2 BP, and then grants over enhance that increases overdrive damage to the party by 20%, 3 times per battle, for a total of 60% by turn 3. When attacking on overdrive, activates skill number 3. So it does not start with the overdrive gauge filled, so on turn 1 you'll be giving 25 points of overdrive gauge to everyone. But since Kandy also gets the OG points, it will usually get into overdrive by the end of turn 2. And then on turn 3 use overdrive, and then turn 4 you are not on overdrive again. You'll be giving OG points to everyone. On turn begins, gets this damage block for 1 time on turn, so 1 hit, and then 37% chance to nullify damage from direct attacks to all allies for 1 turn. That's kinda big. Nullify damage, it's like having an evasion that only works for direct attacks. I know many bosses have a mix of direct and indirect, but this can allow you to survive a turn where you wouldn't. Still RNG reliant. Damage taken is always reduced by 30%, and if it's hit by a skill, damage taken is reduced by another 40, similar to Darius setup. Then with skill number 1 we have a morale down small that decreases damage taken by 15%, and then attack. For 1 BP, pretty cheap. The second one is full support, 5 VP fast AoE, grants this defense boost that decreases damage taken by 15%, lasts for 2 turns and stack, and also a defense stance skill that decreases damage taken from skills by 15%. I'm not so sure if you can stack defense stances, I don't think you can, so only the defense boost will stack. But that gives you at least 30% damage reduction, and then 45 use it one after another. I believe so. And the third one is a 9 BP C-Power AoE attack with blunt damage that grants a defense boost of medium effect, decreases damage taken by 25% for 2 turns, can stack with this skill number 2, and then gives this passive to everyone where they will get 1 BP if they are hit by a skill, up to 3 times, and this lasts for 2 turns. So this is the skill that you get when you use on overdrive as a chase. So you can wait to use this double times on overdrive, and you can get as much as 6 BP during 2 turns if you get hit by skills. That's nice because 6 BP in another 3 that you get by the end of a turn is enough to use this skill again. It's a lot of BP generation during a fight that the enemy is using skills, but Kandy defense boosts are not as good as the other current characters in the game, like Liz, Anya, like even Darius itself. And if you're not taking full advantage of that extra BP generation, you are maybe taking advantage of the OG generation. But you need characters that have extra attacks on overdrive to make more sense of the character, but totally unnecessary on the meta in my opinion. Can be used to replace Sheree in some squads, but it's not really a replacement. And we'll be getting Hardy later, that is a much better BP generator, although Kandy just a little bit of everything if you can find a slot for him. I believe it deserves a 3.5 out of 5 grade, at least for now. The last one is Hiveris, and he is a pretty interesting character with 102 endurance, 105 dexterity, 106 intelligence, and 103 will. As you can see, very strange status. 100s, there are now on the 130s, and is a hybrid one that uses guns and cold attacks. But he was made for the future. You will not see the full potential of Hiveris right now, but they buffed him to become much better. Like now, he reduces damage taken for all allies by 25%. for guns. We don't have that much support on guns. Then battle begins, starts with 12 BP. When being directly attacked, damage taken is reduced in encounters with Water Hammer Plus. That debuffs STR and intelligence by 10%. So, can use it as a counter and as a counter, because he taunts with medium effect for 4 turns every turn and he stacks. Also, when he's attacked, he recovers 1 BP. That's very nice. Being attacked by slash attacks, he then debuffs the STR of all enemies. He debuffs STR of the enemies by, I believe, 15%. It's pretty specific. He needs to be attacked by slash, but this is to all enemies, so depending if you have many enemies on the field, it can be very interesting. Now, when being attacked by blunt, decreases the agility of all enemies by, this time, just 10%. And when attacked by cold, will decrease the intelligence of the enemies by then 15%. Okay, so 3 types of elemental damage: slash, cold, and blunt. Blunt makes sense because it's usually MRs and will be debuffing agility. STR does not always make sense because some attacks are slash based but not STR. And intelligence for cold, very very specific, but some boss fights will use this. For example, Kazinsi, Real Queen will be using blunt attacks and debuffing agility will decrease her damage. And many of the other bosses that uses STR based attacks will be doing slash. So for Remembrance it works, but outside of Remembrance, I don't know. Then, besides the taunt effects, on start of turn, we get this 20% buff to Endurance and Will. Will also be buffing ailment resistance and recover HP by around 250. And also carries our wall defense, decreasing damage taken by 50% at all times. Okay, so you decrease damage taken, taunt the enemies, try to counter, and when being attacked can trigger some special effects. Then skill number 1 is a gun skill with 2 BP cost that has a chance to decrease the enemy's agility by 20% or 2 BP. That's nice. The intelligence is not as high as it could have been, can work here and there, especially if you are bringing buffers. Second one is Water Hammer Plus. That is an 8 power single target attack that can debuff STR and intelligence by 15% because you can level this up to 99. And the third one is a triple S attack with cold and blunt. This is a spell just like Water Hammer that will give 1 damage block for 1 time and recovers HP by a very large effect. That will be around 2000s. So you can inherit Zero Absolute if you have his first premium style. That decreases damage taken by 5% via hit down on the enemy and then casts defense up of 15%. Alongside this 25% damage reduction and all the ways to decrease damage taken via taunt and counter, well, this guy can be very useful for Remembrance because we don't have many supports, and the future Megalith Dragon challenge on Remembrance, where you would get materials to upgrade Remembrance weapons to Triple S, will require a counter, and Hiveris will be stopping multi-hit attacks from the dragon and bring a lot of different utilities. I don't know if it's really necessary. There are other gun counters, like we have Socho, we had Koji, but this guy is the best one for Remembrance. But as it is, not many people will be using him for real challenges. I believe 3.5 out of 5 is deserved. Well, this banner is okay to pull because Apollo is a very strong damage dealer and Hiveris is nice for future. But Kandy is not that great. I believe we will not be using Kandy for too long. It will be easily replaced. So the first banner has better value in my opinion, where I give it a Silver Plus award, while this one I'll be giving it Silver or Silver minus. So I don't really recommend pulling here unless you are a fan of the characters, and you can wait till the next banner announcement anyway. But that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to help the channel, we have links in the description. Hope to see you soon on the next one. Goodbye.